Today we are drafting from the 102 in a 12-team format. Let's get into it. What is up, everybody? Roman here. Today we are continuing our series of drafting from each spot in a 12-team format from the 101 to the 112. And today we're doing the 102. So if we look at the board right now, we see that Jahmyr Gibbs comes off at the 101, and that is probably going to be expected. Jahmyr Gibbs is currently the 101 for ADP, so he comes off the board, and ultimately the top two players in fantasy this year are Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs. So with that being the case, we're going to take Bijan here at the 102. If Bijan comes off at the 101, take Gibbs. If Gibbs comes off at the 101, take Bijan. So looking at the board right now, nothing too out of the ordinary. Everything you kind of expect happening here. We're going to look through and see who is available for us here at the churn. And looking down, we see Kenneth Walker is available here for us. How common is that going to be in your league? I don't really know. That might not be the case, but it is a possibility. I have seen Kenneth Walker fall before, so we'll take Kenneth Walker here at the 211, just like we did in our 10-team format. And then we're going to go through and we're going to take a wide receiver here. Looking at who's available, we have Rashee Rice, Chris Olave, Devontae Smith, probably the best options on the board right now. I typically would take Rashee Rice if I didn't have Kenneth Walker, but because I have Kenneth Walker, I'm not going to take Rashee. They're both on the same team. I don't like that they're both on the same team, so I'm going to take Chris Olave here. I think Chris Olave can still be super productive. He had a really good season last year. Definitely a bit of risk there with the injury that he deals with typically, but I still think he's going to be super solid, easily averaging around the 16-plus points per game range. So I like Chris Olave. I think he's going to be a really solid wide receiver one there. Now looking at the board, we see a big run of different players. We see a ton of the running backs come off the board as well as wide receivers. I'm going to go through and I'm probably going to take Jalen Waddle here as my wide receiver too. I think Jalen Waddle is going to have a really good season this year. I'm expecting pretty good things from him. He's going to be productive. He's going to be targeted a lot on the Broncos. I think he's far more talented than Courtland Sutton currently. So now looking again with our fifth pick, I'm going to target another running back. I think that's probably the best option to target a running back. I'm going to go and I'm going to take DeAndre Swift. I've talked about DeAndre Swift in my videos before. I think DeAndre is one of the last running backs in this tier that is super productive. So we'll be taking him there at the 502 and know that he's going to be productive. Even with Kyle Monangai kind of coming onto the scene last year, I still think that DeAndre is the best option there, and there's really no big competition. I think he's going to be getting 60% of the snaps. He'll be getting goal line touches, and he'll easily be around that 14 to 15 points per game range, which again, for our flex, which is pretty much what we're going to be plugging him into is the flex, it is going to be really solid. In terms of wide receiver, not really anybody here that catches my eye, I will be honest. I don't really like DK, Chris Godwin, Jacoby, Michael Pittman. I just prefer the running backs that are available over the wide receivers. So it's really between two players, Jaylen Warren and Jadarian Price. Jaylen Warren, I think, has a ton of receiving upside. I think he can be really solid this year once again. Last year with Kenneth Gainwell both playing, they were both receiving options, and Jaylen Warren was still around that 13, 14 points per game range, which is really good for a flex. But you also have Jadarian Price, who has that really high upside potential, being on the Seahawks, being the number one option there. He was drafted with a 32nd pick. I think Jadarian Price could be really productive there. I'm going to take the shot on Jadarian. I think this is not a bad player to take a kind of upside shot on. So he'll be the player that we add here with our 6th pick. And now with our 7th pick, looking at who is available, wide receiver wise, I think we can avoid these guys for a little bit for now. I think we can find value there later. I'm going to go and I'm going to probably take Tucker Kraft here with our 7th pick. Tucker Kraft looks to be healthy, looks to be playing week 1. 14 points per game last year. Again, it is a bit skewed with the 1 week where he dropped like 50 points. He was like crazy productive, but still, he's still, in my opinion, a top 5 tight end this year as long as he is healthy, and he looks to be healthy going into the season. So we're going to take him there. I think he's going to be really good for our team. Again, top 5 tight end, will be productive, will be targeted. 7th round capital, I think, isn't crazy at all for him. I honestly prefer Tucker over a player like Harold Fannin, over Tyler Warren, if I'll be honest. So getting him in the 7th round, I really like there. Now looking at who is available now, I'm going to go and I'm going to take the shot on Quentin Johnston here with our 8th pick. And then I'll also take Jacoby Myers here with our 9th pick. So Quentin Johnston, with Mike McDaniel being there on the Chargers, again, more 2 wide receiver plays are going to be run. Ladd is going to be probably more productive. I prefer Ladd, I really do, but Ladd obviously gets taken super early here in the 4th round. Quinton, I think in the 8th round is not bad. Last year, there was a point where he was averaging 17 points per game. He was being super productive, and I mean, why not? Why not take a player like that with the potential to excel and play really well for our bench? That's what you want on your bench. Jacoby Myers, a bit more iffy, I will say. I liked him last year. I had him on my team, and he was pretty productive, and he seems to be targeted actually pretty heavily from Trevor Lawrence. And when it comes to Jacksonville, you're kind of banking on which one is going to be the more productive player. We see Brian Thomas goes in the 6th round, Parker Washington in the 7th, and then Jacoby in the 9th. It's like a 50-50-50, or I guess you can say it's a 33% chance on who's going to be more productive each week. I think it's going to be Brian Thomas, but Jacoby Myers, I think, has favorable matchups as well. And again, if he is more productive as the season goes on, he's easily a player that you can flex. So again, for our bench, which is where they're at right now, these guys are really nice takes there. We have Chris Olave, Waddle as our starters, who again are going to be productive, going to be solid. Our running back room is really our big strength here, as well as our tight end. So taking an upside shot on these 2 players, I think, is really nice. Now looking at the board, we see that a bunch of the defenses come off the board. Essentially, the top 4 defenses are off now: Houston, Seattle, Rams, and Broncos. We're not going to target defense. I think that one of these nice defenses is going to be available a bit later anyway, so we're not going to look at defense here. I think we're going to go through and we're probably going to take our quarterback. And the quarterback that I like here would have been Justin Herbert, but he comes off in the 7th round. So I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence here. Trevor Lawrence exploded last year. He played really good. He was showing signs that he can be super solid. So he's going to be the quarterback that we take there and kind of start on our team. And then maybe, depending on who's available, we'll try to get a backup quarterback like a Mahomes if he doesn't come off the board. But now looking through at who else is available, in terms of running back, nothing too crazy. I also think that with our 4 running backs, we're pretty set there, if I'm being honest. We could take an upside shot on the wide receiver position, or we can go for a tight end. In all honesty, I think Travis Kelce is a pretty tempting offer here in the 11th round. I really think Travis Kelce is going to be super productive. He's going to be targeted a lot. He'll easily be averaging 10 points minimum this year. He is a bit older, but again, this is last year. He's going to be targeted a lot. Him and Mahomes, have that chemistry. So he's not a bad player to take here. I'm personally going to go down and I'm going to take Stephon Diggs. I think Diggs being the wide receiver 2 on the Commanders, potentially fighting for the wide receiver 1 spot there, is really nice. I think he can be super productive and excel and play really well. So we're going to take Diggs there. Looking at the board, we see Kelce comes off the 1106. And again, all these standard kind of upside shot players, handicaps to running backs, things like that. This is pretty much who's coming off the board. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to take a kicker here, the best kicker in the league, Brandon Aubrey. And then I'm going to go and take my defense, the New England Patriots. And now we have essentially got ourselves a top 5 defense, probably 5th place, I'll be honest, but a top 5 defense. We have the best kicker in the league who can win games on his own. He can drop 30 points any given week. His foot is crazy, so taking him there I think is pretty solid. And our hope for a backup quarterback is kind of out the window. I was hoping for a Patrick Mahomes, but he comes off here in the 13th, Brock Purdy, Bo Nix, so no point of targeting any of these guys. These are all waiver wire quarterbacks in my opinion anyway, apart from maybe Jared Goff, but I don't think he's worth taking a shot on at this point. I'm going to go and I'm going to take Trey Tucker. I actually like Trey Tucker. He showed signs of being pretty solid last year. And now with getting a competent quarterback in a Kirk Cousins or Mendoza, I think that Trey Tucker will be the number 1 option there. So I like Trey Tucker. I think he'd be super productive. Again, he's one of those kind of sneaky takes in the 14th round. He's going to be on your bench. And if anything, you can just drop him. He's not like worth this crazy pick or anything like that. With our last pick, I'm going to go and I'm going to be taking a tight end here, and that is going to be Chig. I really like Chig. I think he's going to be pretty decent there over there on the Commanders. He's another kind of upside shot player. You can take Chig. You can also go and take, a Hunter Henry's here or Rondé Gatson if you want a tight end. In terms of receivers, I don't really like any of these receivers if I'm being honest. Really not a ton of crazy options here in terms of receiver. The only receiver I would consider, and this is the one I took in my other video, is going to be Zachariah Branch. who is found super deep down. He's going to be the wide receiver 2 on Atlanta. And if Drake London goes down, he's not a bad player, but he's going to be in the waiver wire, so you can find him there. But looking at our team overall, we have T. Law as our quarterback. We have Bijan and Kenneth Walker. I think 2 top 11 running backs there, the best running back in the league, and then I think the 11th. I personally have him ranked as the 11th running back. Really solid running backs here. I think they're going to be really what carries our team. We have Chris Olave, who again has really nice high upside and potential. I think he's going to get a lot of volume there with Tyler Shuck throwing the ball. Jalen Waddle as well, going to the Broncos, being the #1 option there, is going to be super productive. Tucker Kraft, top 5 tight end in the league. Could be a top 3 tight end as long as he stays healthy, which he should be healthy. He should be starting week 1. If that is the case, we got an absolute steal in the 7th round. DeAndre Swift, I still think he's going to be the running back 1 there. Again, not too worried about Kyle Monungai and his production. I think DeAndre Swift is getting majority of the touches, goal line touches, and will be averaging easily 13 to 15 points per game. Patriots defense, top 5 defense in my opinion. Even with a tougher schedule, I still think they will be productive. Brandon Aubrey, he's the GOAT. You guys know that. Best foot in the game. Taking him in the 12th round isn't too crazy, as on the churn, again, he's probably going to be off the board. People taking him in the 14th round and stuff like that. And now our bench, a ton of upside shots. We have Jadarian Price, who again could excel, could play really well. We have Quinton, Jacoby, Stephon, Trey Tucker, all really good options for wide receiver. I think Quinton probably is the best one easily out of all of them with the highest potential. But Jacoby, Stephon, 2 vets that should get targets, that will get touchdowns. And then Chig, another tight end who has a ton of potential. If you don't want Chig again, you can go through and kind of take a running back here, but there's not really anything too appealing. Maybe an Emmanuel Wilson if you don't like Jadarian Price or something like that. I mean, literally not much left for the running back room here at all, if I'm being honest. So the only other thing I would take here is another wide receiver, but we already have a ton of them. So I just thought that why not take a second tight end who could be productive in case Tucker Kraft does miss week 1 or something like that as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this helped you out a little bit at least. You got an idea of how the draft is going in 12-team format. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next one.